Hello and welcome to another edition of TQ's Baseball Crush of the Week. This is our first video blog, so thanks for tuning in. This TQ's Baseball Crush is for the week beginning March 2nd. Spring training started this week, so happy baseball beginning. And a couple of notes before we start. First note is that Matt Harvey pitched his first game this week since having a Tommy John surgery last season. He threw 25 pitches, struck out 3 batters, and threw 2 perfect innings. So welcome back, Matt Harvey, and we'll be excited to see what you do this season. The other note is that I will not be doing a baseball crush next week, but I will be doing one from Arizona the week afterward at Rocky Spring Training, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Today I'm wearing a Houston Astros hat to honor the home state of the subject of this week's baseball crush, which is Jim Morris, specifically the movie The Rookie from 2002, profiling his life. I'm doing this a little bit different, the format's a little bit different this week to fulfill the requirements of an assignment that I was given for one of my classes. So that's why, if you're a longtime reader of the blog, the format's a little bit different this week. So welcome, and let's get started, I guess. The 2002 movie The Rookie is about Jim Morris, who was a major league pitcher from the years 1999 to 2001. It came out in 2002. I was 9 years old, and I remember seeing it in the theater. I've seen it multiple times since then. It's really inspired me and taught me a lot about being a good teacher, and has influenced my thoughts on what a good teacher is quite a bit. So a little brief summary of the film. After a failed Major League Baseball career, Jim Morris is now a high school chemistry teacher in his hometown in Texas. He also coaches the local high school baseball team. They're pretty bad. They struggle to compete, and their field is pretty torn up. The community in general has just kind of stagnated. It's in a bust period. It's an oil town. His students make an agreement with him after he throws them batting practice. They say that if they win their district tournament, he has to try out again for the major leagues. He was in the minor leagues for a while, but then a shoulder injury had sidelined him, and that's when he'd come back to Texas. So he takes their bet. They do win their district tournament, and he goes and tries out for and makes the Tampa Bay Devil Rays minor league system. And he works his way through the system and up into the major leagues. The movie ends with him striking out his first batter in his first game in the major leagues. So the purpose of this assignment really was for us to pick a teacher from pop culture who had influenced us and really changed or reinforced some of our views on teaching. And so that's why I chose this movie in particular. I know it doesn't focus a lot on actual school, but I see the metaphor of the baseball team and the baseball diamond and him as their coach as a very strong influence on me and how I think about schooling in general. So that's why I chose to do it on this film. So let's just talk a little bit about the time period. The time period is 1999 to 2000. That's when this movie is set. He was teaching in Texas in 1999 and finally made it to the major leagues in 2000. The first question to answer asks if the school is a product of its times, and I don't think necessarily so much it's a product of its times in terms of it being a school in 1999 or 2000, but I think it definitely is a product of its times in that it's a school in a rural town in Texas that's an oil town that is in a bust period, that is no longer booming. And so the field, if we take the metaphor of the field as the school, it definitely is run down, it's full of potholes, the grass is patchy and brown where it does exist. So it definitely reflects the stagnation of the town. It's definitely a sign of the times in the town, the stagnation of the town and the apathy of the town toward the field and toward the schooling in general of these young men on the baseball team. To talk about the culture of schooling a little bit within the film, it's very much seen as a collaborative culture. We all win or lose together. Of course, that has to do with it being about a baseball team, and that's how the baseball and sports in general is structured. But specifically, it's structured, we all win or lose together, and that's not always a good thing. We all win or lose together is a great mentality to have if there's a goal and if there's optimism and hope about your future. But in the beginning of the film especially, there's this pessimism and this outlook that's very bleak about their abilities and what they can do. And so that's when that culture of schooling can be not such a good thing. So that's kind of the culture of schooling, is that it's all about collaboration and it's all about getting there together. The elements of the show that really reinforce that are just the plot line. It's only by pulling together and having a coherent goal and optimism about the future that the team is able to do well, and that the community really gathers around the team and helps lift them up as well. So that's really the element that reflects that culture of schooling. The portrayal of the school itself, the main question that all of these are driving at is, what image of schooling does this present? So first, looking at the school, the baseball field, what image does it present? And I think it presents kind of a problematic image for us. It presents a problematic image that the field is only really kept up and maintained and renovated when the team is doing well. And the reason that presents to me a problematic view of schooling is that it can be easy to fall into that trap to say that students earn, quote, earn, or work their way toward new facilities or facilities that are renovated. And I think that that's dangerous. It's easy to see facilities as a reward, but I think that they can also be an incentive as well. That creating new facilities can help uplift a student population and help inspire them to do better. By showing that the community cares about them and wants to invest in their education. So I think that that's really the problematic image for me of schooling in terms of the school, is that the community is only willing to put in the time when the team is winning, when the team is doing well. And other than that, they're pretty apathetic toward the school and they see it as a reward. So it's just something to think about there. Let's talk a little bit about Jim Morris specifically. Jim Morris, his character falls within one of Mary Dalton's two paradigms of teachers in Hollywood. Mary Dalton did a very interesting study, really placing teachers into two big distinct groups. Over here you've got the good teachers. They don't do well with authority. They get involved with the students on a personal level. And over here you've got the bad teachers. And the bad teachers, they're the ones who, are in the system. They control the students. They're focused on the technical aspects, the busy work, the testing. And so you've got the good and bad teachers. And I think it's easy, from watching the film, it's easy to see that Jim Morris definitely falls more into that category of good teacher. He gets involved with the students on a personal level, and he learns from the students. He learns how to strive for his own goals by watching the example of the students. And so I think that that's important, that he falls into that good teacher category. The next question, I don't think that it really is very applicable to the film, but it's worth bringing up. Robert Lowe and Bill Ayers both identify the fact that in Hollywood there can be this tendency to show a teacher as a great white hope or a savior coming into a community to save that community or to save the youths. And usually it's a white teacher going into a predominantly ethnic minority community. And so just something to think about when you're watching those kind of films, thinking about how Hollywood is portraying the empowerment of minorities versus the empowerment of a white teacher who is just, saving a messianic figure, I guess. So just something to keep in mind, just something that I wanted to bring up. Doesn't really apply, I think, so much to this. First of all, Jim Morris lives in the community where he is teaching. He's lived there for many, many years, and I don't think that he's so much saving the community as helping to empower these young men and helping to empower the community as well to get themselves out of this rut that they've been in, through both his example and through his achievements later on. So I think that that's something to think about, definitely. The next question is about how the teacher reinforces the culture of schooling where they work. And I think that to me is shown through Jim Morris's evolution. I think that it's the evolution of Jim Morris throughout the film that really reinforces that culture of schooling. I think that, at first the culture of schooling is that we all win or lose together and we lost. And so I think that Jim Morris reflects that. He's also apathetic and kind of stagnated in his life. And so that culture is reflected in him. But then there's that culture of we all win or lose together, and we all have a coherent goal. And he definitely reflects that with his, move to the major leagues and all that later on in the film. So it's really through his evolution that he's able to typify and reflect that culture of schooling. The next question is a little bit tricky. It's about how he subverts or deviates from the culture of schooling. And I don't think that he really does. I think that he really takes the culture of schooling there and just improves upon it and gives it a clear goal. Like I said, the culture of schooling is very much a we win or lose together. And I think he just gives them a clear goal to strive for and an optimism about the future. So that can be kind of how he deviates from the culture at the beginning, where there's that pessimism and that downtroddenness. And he really brings a culture of excitement and optimism about the future. So that's really what he does to deviate from the culture of schooling. The characteristics in Jim Morris that I want to emulate as a teacher definitely include his willingness to tie himself to the community where he works, and also his willingness to tie himself to the fortunes of his students. Now, what I mean by that is not that he lives or dies by the choices that his students make or by their success or failure, because that's not necessarily a good thing. What I mean by that is that what he does is that he takes down the wall that usually exists. Over here, you've got your professional side. You've got who I am at school. This is my professionalism. Of course, I'm trying to help these students. It's my job. And over here, you've got, these are my personal goals. These are the things I'm striving for. He takes and he kind of breaks down the wall between those two. He marries his personal goals to his professional life. He sees how being a teacher can help him further himself as a person, being a coach, and help him achieve some of those higher level goals that he's got in his life. And I think that that's really what is important to me, and that's what I want to emulate a lot from him. Also, those close ties to the community. Being able to know who to go to for help when he's thinking about improving the field, going to the right people to get the right help. He doesn't go to a big, lawn care company or something. He goes to the community to see how he can get them involved and them invested in maintaining both the field, but also, in these young men's success, how he can get them invested in the success of the young men. I guess the characteristics I wish to avoid with Jim Morris are that general stagnation in career, that idea that he's just going through the motions at the beginning of the movie without a clear goal and with a general pessimism about his life. And so I think that that's something I really want to avoid in my career. I want to avoid ever getting to that point. I think it was Dr. Janik, who's teaching the class I'm doing this assignment for, who said that he was talking to someone and they said, the time to get out of teaching is when you stop laughing. When you're not having fun anymore, you're not being an effective teacher, and you're not really doing anyone any good. So I think that's what I want to avoid with Jim Morris. Again, going back to whether the teacher presents a positive or negative portrayal of schools in general within the movie, I think that he portrays a very positive view of schools. I think that he says that when the community is involved, when the teacher is involved on a personal level, when the teacher kind of marries their personal goals to their job and sees how those two things can intermix, that is when the school will be successful, the students will be successful, and the community will be uplifted by that success. But I don't think that that's the biggest takeaway from the movie. I think the biggest takeaway from the movie is the challenge to communities that this movie presents. This movie presents a challenge to the communities that surround these schools to take an active interest and to become invested in the success of these students. It's only through that investment that the field improves and that more people show up to the games so that the students feel supported and like they have someone to work for other than just themselves. And I think that that's very important. Having communities take an interest in their schools can make a lot of difference. So I think that the image of schooling that's portrayed through Jim Morris isn't nearly as important as the image of schooling that's portrayed through the community members and the challenge that presents to a lot of communities. Well, that's it for this week. Stay tuned for a couple weeks from now. I'll be doing some blogs from Arizona. I'll be at Rocky Spring Training. Hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle is posted on the blog site. If you're watching this on the blog site, go ahead and give the blog site a like on Google+. I'm going to be starting a Facebook page for the blog, so go ahead and skip on over there to TQ's Baseball Crush of the Week and give that page a like. It just makes me feel more important if you do that. So thank you very much, and happy baseball.